man, here we go again. This team ain't gon' never win. I'm ashamed to be a fan, got me lying to my friends. Louis belt straight to ass, that cannot complete a pass. CD Lamb been playing trash, man, how long is this gon' last? Damn. Get it, Jerry. Yeah. Quit it, Jerry. Yeah. Retire, Jerry. Yeah. We gotta fire, Jerry. Boy, you know this team super bad. I ain't lying. No. Every week we taking belt to ass. That shit piss me. That cannot complete a simple pass. Where he tryna? Man, how long is this shit gonna last? Who you throwing to? Took a 40 ball, beating 2 times is like a sequence. Wow. Dak, who you throwing to? He threw it to the defense. I'm like, Dak, who you throwing it to? He threw it to the ops. I'm like, Dak, you gotta stop. Dak, go to the barber shop. Get that hairline fixed, and maybe you'll stop throwing picks. And maybe CD Lamb will stop being the diva and he'll stop throwing fits. And maybe Mike McCarthy will be on the sideline wearing some clothes that fit. And maybe Jerry Jones just might retire because he old as shit.
It is the One Star Cowboys podcast. We're recording this on Monday night, October the 14th of bye week. We got our takes in after the post-game show, or after the 47-9, loss, but we really wanted to get back in for a minute and just, let things simmer. Let's, just see, have more balanced thoughts on this thing. You guys always have very good measured takes. Saad Yusuf, John Machota, Kent Garrison are here. I'm Kevin Turner. So we'll be a little different on this week's schedule with the bye week and all. It's an opportunity for us to kind of maybe do some traveling, go away, go get married. So it's a lot of things happening this week. Probably do like a NFL and review recap episode maybe on Sunday night or something. But thank you all for joining us. John, I'll start with you. Anything to take away from McCarthy's availability today?
Yeah, I think that, and just getting a time to sleep on it. I think that we've figured it out, and I think that this bye week will be good, and then they're going to come back just a lot better team. Nope, that was being sarcastic.
Yeah,
no,
be clear.
there are no answers that make you feel like it's going to be any different. I can't get past the whole it being downplayed into, well, we're 3-3, 3 losses at home, 3 wins on the road. No. Like, there's levels, and you can't, these games are over at halftime, and I just can't get past that. And I understand if I'm in that position, if I'm the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, or I'm the head coach or the franchise quarterback, I get it that there's certain things that you just can't say. You can't say a lot of the stuff that we can say on this podcast. But yeah, I feel there's nothing about where they are right now that makes me feel any differently about the way this season's about to go. Like, Dak mentions 2018 last night, where they start 3-5 and then they roll off and win 7 of their last 8, win 10 games, get in the playoffs. That was the year that they beat the Seahawks and then lost in LA to the Rams in a divisional round. It's like, yeah. And they also did a trade for Amari Cooper at the bye week. Like, this team isn't doing any of that stuff. And the other side of it too is, I understand people want the coaching change, and that's not doing anything either. Like, I've felt all along this whole season, when Jerry gave Mike McCarthy the final year of the deal and didn't fire him after the Green Bay game, that he was going to be judged on the totality of this season. Jerry's going to let him play this season out. He's going to allow him to, hey, you know what, there's going to be some ugly moments, but if he can right the ship, get them in the playoffs, get hot at the right time, then, maybe then that's what it'll take. He'll get a contract extension. If that doesn't happen, we'll move in another direction. Clean sweep, move on. And I don't feel any different about that. And there's nothing that the Joneses have said, whether it's Jerry right after the game or Stephen Jones today on 105.3 The Fan. There's nothing that they're not trying to make any big sweeping changes, or even one to just send a message by just, maybe parting ways with a position coach or something. They're not going to do that. They're going to allow them to play the season out. And I get it, man. I get it. If you're a Cowboys fan, that sucks, because it doesn't look like it's going to be any better than it is right now. But I would also maintain, I don't know that if you make a coaching change right now, that anything drastically changes to save this season. So it sucks. But then again, like, we come on here, we want to give you guys answers. We want to just share how we feel. But I will say this. I mean, I feel like I'm around the team a lot. I feel like I talk to a lot of people that know a lot about this team. I feel pretty well plugged in. And I don't really have any answers. But I can tell you this right now, the people that are around there all the time, the people that are in the locker room, the people that do coach the team, the people that are in the front office, they don't have them either, and they're paid way more than I am.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I was thinking about this in terms of the way broadcasting's kind of going right now. Because I know like, people are like trying to go do things online. Maybe they're trying to go monetize things, podcast networks and things like that. And I was like, 3 of our 4 local teams in DFW actually don't know how they're going to monetize things yet. Like, they may have a plan, like the Stars on Victory Plus. That's a little different. So it's like sometimes the people who are like there on the front lines don't know either. But I don't know. Do you agree with what John said there, Saad?
Yeah, I think, it's all that stuff, but then there's also things that for me, our friend RJ Ochoa over at Blogging the Boys, he always posts some stats and stuff right after the game. And there's always, I like to see the historic ones that sometimes, he'll find and things. And there were 2 that he posted back-to-back tweets that really caught my attention. One was over the course of NFL history, 9 teams who have allowed 119 points or more to be scored against them in their first 3 home games. Okay, so the Cowboys of this year fall into that. The last time it happened in the NFL was the 2020 Cowboys. As we all know, that was, when Dak got hurt and all that stuff as well. Before that, it was the Miami Dolphins in 2019. Quarterbacks for that was Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. And then before that, it was the Miami Dolphins in 2007 with Trent Green and Cleo Lemon at quarterback. The reason why I'm saying this, even though it's a defensive stat of allowing 119 points or more, is that those teams were just bad. Like they didn't have franchise quarterbacks, things of that sort. And and then there's a few times before that, but it was like Cleveland Browns in 1975, the Bills in 71, Dolphins in 68, Washington 54, and Giants in 48. So point is, in modern day history, like it takes a bad team to be this inept. And I'm tying the quarterback into this because offense and defense kind of goes hand in hand in a lot of this stuff in terms of how long you're able to stay on the field. The third down conversions are terrible. They're 30th in red zone efficiency this year. The only 2 teams that are worse than them are the Patriots, who are going through their quarterback struggle, and the Dolphins, who don't have a quarterback right now. So the issues are really, and I'm not picking on Dak, but I'm just saying like these are not issues that good teams with franchise quarterbacks go through. And by the way, of all those teams I listed, not a single one finished the season with a winning record. So the Cowboys can talk about how they're gonna, come out of the bye week and it's gonna change, but it's gonna take, I want to see it happen before I believe it.
Yeah, and I've almost like clearly that's why we made such a big deal about them beating the Steelers too, because we knew kind of where that was going to go. Like, even if it wasn't 47-9, going in and beating the Lions yesterday was going to be a tall task with how decimated the defense was. But when they're, trying to throw the ball to Taylor Decker and get Dan Skipper getting snaps at the flanker position, you kind of go, okay, well, that's it has more weight to it. But one thing I will say, I guess I should just ask you guys, like, saving the season. This is not a Super Bowl team. Agreed, we're all good there. But saving the season to me is making the playoffs and having a chance to go win a game. And that's what it might mean to a lot of Cowboys fans. I don't think coaching change saves the season. What, in your opinion, is the way to save the season? Because it's not what Jerry said, do better, bear down harder. What is the way, if they were going to do it, to save the season?
Well, I'll go first just, with one thing and then I'll let John go. But for me, just because you brought up the try harder thing, I agree with you, KT. That's not the thing, but it is a little bit of the thing. Like, maybe have your starting all-pro corner not run away from tackles. Like, maybe be able to do fundamental things, like fill in gaps in run defense. I go back to Jordan Lewis met us after either the Ravens or Saints game. It was one of the two, and he met us in the locker room right after that, and all he did was talk about details. And it's such a cliche thing that you kind of just shrug it off. But McCarthy was talking about details again today, and for me, when you're talking details, it's about those fundamental things that Duncanville and DeSoto probably did on Friday night. that you have to be doing. Now, if you get just blown off the line like, the Cowboys defensive linemen do because they're on their 5th defensive end right now, that's a whole other story. But you can't be running away from the basics of football. And right now, they're not doing that.
Yeah, and details when you talk about it, also to me it goes to coaching because it has to be the stuff that is being hammered home in training camp, hammered home during the week. You don't really, hey guys, next Sunday we're going to work on these when we get into the game. No, you work on those during the week. And hey, I'll be the first to say that the changes that have been made over the last 10, 15, 20 years in the NFL are not really that conducive to really getting better during the week. I mean, the practices and the way the structure is with how limited the workouts can be. I mean, it's the days are gone of you lay an egg and play as bad as you did against the Lions. Well, I can't, man. You're not going to want to be you're not going to want to be out there on Wednesday. They're going to be just running gassers all day. They're going to be getting punished for this. Like that's not happening. So, realistically speaking, you asked the question to save this season. It involves adding a player or players that aren't not in the building right now. It would have to be some type of a drastic move to trade for a player where it would really signal like, hey, we're trying to make a run here. We don't think we're that far away. We think this player puts us over the top. That would be the only thing for me. There's nothing from what this roster is right now that makes me think it's about to turn the corner.
What percentage of Cowboys fans do you think feel that way, like they want that? And what percentage of Cowboys fans, I know it's a tough one, but like, do you think are like, it doesn't matter, just might as well just lose out and who cares?
Oh, I would say I don't think anybody really wants to just lose out, but I think that number is growing when you see these efforts at home. Yeah. That's to be as good as they've been at home the previous 2 years and to be as bad as they are to start this season. I mean, that's a total head scratcher. That right there, I would think would get the majority, a very strong majority, to say, yeah, it's time to just go in another direction. And it's interesting too because you just pay CD, you just pay Dak, so you're not going to really change that much personnel wise. There's only so much you can do, And when I say that, I mean like you're not going to make a bunch of moves to add in veteran players to fill in. You're pretty much limited to having to build this thing through the draft. And so what are you going to do if you're a fan? I'll start looking at prospects and get excited for March and April. I mean, I don't see that being any fun. Yeah. So the only realistic thing that they could do would be to make a move. And because here's the thing, like even if let's say this season finishes out the way it's gone through these first 3 games, let's say they win 7 or 8 games, miss the playoffs, whatever, or even if they won 9 and got in as a wild card, losing the first round, like I just think you see a coaching change, and then that will be what sold everybody that, well, this is what's going to make the difference. We have a new head coach. We have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. Things are going to be different. We're going to utilize Micah like this, and there's some things that we're going to do pre-snap and motion and stuff that are going to make the offense a little bit more, different than it's been, Those would be the things that are sold. But if you're a fan, even with that, I mean, there's not anybody that you can really even bring in from that standpoint that would make a fan feel that way.
Not now. Yeah.
I mean, Bill Belichick would be a name that's thrown out, but unfortunately for the people that are big fans of Bill Belichick, like myself, he also has those last few years in New England where you're just like, man, you can't feel like this is Bill Belichick taking over and it's like 2010 or something where you're no question we're getting the best guy. So there's not a lot of great answers. There really isn't. And let's be honest, fans didn't want to go through a complete rebuild anyway.
No.
I mean the number of fans that didn't want them to re-sign Dak and then just suffer through or just get through this season, however it plays out, which probably would have been very similar to it is right now. And then you go in another direction in the offseason. I mean, that's even more question marks. That doesn't get you any closer to the goal of winning a Super Bowl either.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is most fans that are following and are actual like football fans, they know that you can't tank with a franchise quarterback. Yeah. Like it's impossible. It's not a question of do you just mail in the season? It's like with a franchise quarterback, you're never going to be in a draft slot that's good enough to be at the very top to where it even gets interesting and you're looking at prospects, because you're probably weighing, even in a non-playoff year, you're probably weighing somewhere between 8 and 9 to 14 in that range. So you're not talking about, you can get super lucky quote unquote, I guess if that's the way to put it, and be like the 2009 Colts or whatever, and like, just Peyton Manning or whatever that was, 2011 Colts, and Peyton Manning goes out for the whole year. It's a really, really good team, and then you fall into Andrew Luck because you just had. But like you with the franchise quarterback healthy, you can't be bad enough to get excited about the draft at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
I kind of wondered too if like the thing that looking back on where they are right now, I'm not saying this is number one, but it has to be very high on the list in Jerry's head of like mistakes, not getting the CD done so that he could be there during training camp, because it's very clear now that that wasn't as smooth as he thought it was going to be. That like, oh, well, he'll just show up and he's played with Dak and it'll just click and they'll be fine. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it really didn't look, it looked okay in week 1. And then it really didn't, it's not getting better in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And it's like, well, how much longer do we have to wait until these guys are quote unquote clicking? And I think looking back on that, that shows you that as much as Jerry wants to sit there and think that, well, that also prevented CD from getting hurt in potentially in training camp. And so you had a healthy CD entering the season. That timing, those players being together, that does show you a little bit that even though training camp isn't even a shell of what it used to be, it still is important for that time to work together. And you can't just piece it together and be like, no, just show up week 1, everybody just pull up to the stadium and we'll figure it out because we got veteran players.
Like,
by the way, he saw that with Zeke too in 2018.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's like, I don't really have a lot of time for week 6, and we're still talking about Dak and CD not being on the same page. Like, I don't like that. And the getting camp thing is like, okay, well, it's middle of October. And honestly, if it's still like this in San Francisco in 2 weeks, it's like, okay, you had a bye week to get it right. Whatever it is, you shouldn't be getting 7 catches when you're targeted 14 times. It needs to be way higher than that for our number 1 guy. So I get all that. Look, I know this is how these things go. This is how football goes. It's every fan base. Your team struggles. You start talking about, well, what are you going to do about the coach? We've discussed a little bit. If that were to happen, and I think it would take a similar effort in San Francisco for that to happen, and maybe even that wouldn't do it. But if it were to happen, what's their play? Is it Bones as your head coach and Zimmer runs the defense, Schottenheimer runs the offense? Is that the contingency plan if it were to go that way? I know it's.
I think Bones is only an option for like the last few games of the season. If it was to be earlier, like in the next few weeks, I think it's Mike Zimmer. I think that's your only play.
That's what happened in Green Bay when McCarthy was let go late in the year. It was in November, and they just did Joe Philbin as your interim, which was like, okay, well, this is not going to change anything. He's run the same offense, and it's just not going to change anything. I just like, to me, as frustrated as I am with the coaching staff and have been with him, I have been the whole time. I see like it's always 10 different things or 15 different things that are wrong here. And you piece all of that together to form one big pizza of suck, and that's kind of what I see here. Getting rid of McCarthy didn't do anything, but like, if I'm a Cowboys fan, and I do know that the wide receiver trade market is going to be active, I do want to treat this like 2018. Shit, Dak won one of his playoff games there. Like, that was a year that was not a failure. That year was not as successful as you wanted, but any normal franchise will look at that as, man, that was a good year. Now, our expectations are clearly better than that. We won a playoff game that year. It's better than anything that we've been talking about in the McCarthy era here. I'm in. So whether it's Amari Cooper, whether it's one of those guys like, they're not going to trade T. Higgins, the Panthers probably.
I would be very surprised. I know people like to throw it out there. I'd be very surprised if it's Amari Cooper.
I would
just
too.
The way the things ended. I don't think that that's the guy that they're looking at anymore to all of a sudden that's going to, I don't think that, I will be very surprised. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my KT hat on for a second and play host. And I want to pose a question to you guys though. With all the stuff we're talking about, the flaws of this team and everything, I I think you guys would agree, incredibly predictable. I mean, CD misses all of training camp, not to be on, and then the run defense with what they did at defensive tackle, the run offense. I mean, it's incredibly predictable. Maybe not the degree and the extent of like how they're getting blown out and stuff, but just the areas that they're struggling. And I don't know what's worse. Like, I don't know if that's more frustrating or worse that like you knew this was going to be the problem, as opposed to like something just pops up mid-season and like all of a sudden, Zach Martin, for example, I know just one bad game, so I'm not overreacting necessarily, but it's just like, holy crap, like we thought we had right guard like locked down, but all of a sudden this guy is like, struggling out there. That's one thing. But then for the run offense, run defense, CD Dak connection, these are all things that anybody on September 1st knew was probably coming. Maybe the CD Dak thing you didn't expect this bad, but like the run defense and run offense for sure. And so I'm curious what you guys think is worse, when it's things that you just know are going to be bad or things that kind of creep up on you.
No, it's always got to be the ones that because sports are so unpredictable that you shouldn't be able to predict it the way that it's been. And the losses at home are, I was telling you this earlier today, Sal, when we were waiting for McCarthy for 4 hours. The thing about that annoys me that I hear when they lose those games like that are when people say like, yeah, you knew that was going to happen. Now you can say you knew that they were going to lose.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say that you even knew they were going to lose by 2 touchdowns. But you know what? Let me just throw it to KT right now. You look in the Discord. Did you see how many people had scores that were like by 40 points?
I think the wildest one I had was 41-19.
Right. So it's like there's nothing about that in these 3 home games that anybody's predicting, because the way I described it to Saad is, if you feel that way, stop telling your buddies at work. Stop tweeting about it. Start making that work for you. Go to Las Vegas. Start putting real money on this stuff. If you knew that this was going to happen, you're going to get great odds, because if you know these blowouts are going to happen, you don't have to work 9 to 5s anymore. You will print cash. So anyway, nobody knows that this stuff's going to happen. Okay, the Vegas had the line at 4 on this game.
Well, you don't know the degree, but you know the issues. Like,
yeah,
you don't know the degree of the issues, like what you're saying, John, in terms of the bottom line, but you know the issues themselves, not being able to run, not being able to stop the run. Those are 2 things that we've known since February.
Those, yes, I agree with you on that. I guess I'm talking about something a little bit different. In this league, as great of parity as it has, those issues I thought would lead to losses.
Yeah.
Does not surprise me. They are 3-3. But like I always say, there's levels to this. They didn't just get beat by a couple touchdowns because the Lions pulled away in the 4th quarter. It was over probably at the end of the 1st quarter, but I'm going to be generous and say halftime. And you can say the same thing about the Ravens game and the same thing about the Saints. That should never happen. Like, I'll even allow it to happen maybe once in an entire season. It's happened in all 3 of your games that you play in home. The place that you're used to playing more than anybody else. You get to be on the same schedule you've always been on. There's no team should be that much better than you when you have as much talent as this Cowboys team has. And let's be honest, if you want to be those people that go, well, maybe they're not that talented. Well, I don't think that you really look at the Saints roster and go, man, one day could we have that juggernaut? That's so crazy. What a squad. So it's not about that. It's about the parity of the league, that there is nobody. That Patrick Mahomes does not roll out there and go, well, you know what? If I don't hand it to Derrick Henry right now, I either throw it to Tyreek Hill or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Like, they have to make moves too, to where even the Chiefs have to be somewhat limited on how nobody should be just beating you down like that. And here's the other thing. When you suffer one of those Saints games, that should be in the back of your mind where that doesn't happen against the Ravens. That then doesn't happen against the Lions like that. That should be something you're ready for, because you're like, hey, man, last thing we do when we go out here, we might not win, but we cannot get embarrassed again there. So that's what I'm saying, that I get it. Like, the problems that I saw with the run game and them not being able to run the football with what they invested in running back, that means I thought like lose 27-14 games, not be down 27-6 at halftime.
Yeah. Well, look, I do have some early picks and predictions in for the 49ers game, if you'd like to see. let's see, 49ers 51, Cowboys 19 from Sean Mullen Music. And then Mr. McGiblets in the Discord, Cowboys 0, bye week 24. So, the early predictions.
Bye week's been strong lately, so yeah.
Bye week,
and it's at home.
It would take something horrible to happen to lose the bye week. But look, I always appreciate the Discord. It was popping. I had a lot of input back and forth yesterday. You can follow that, the One Star Cowboys podcast Discord. Make sure you guys get in there. We have little in-game chats that are kind of fun as well. Look, the names, we always keep coming back to the same names. That's what I want to do, just because I want to be fun, and I know you guys like covering a team that's fun. So for me, I do want to. And if it costs you a little salary cap stuff on the backside, I will say this. This is way, way, way too convenient for me to say what I'm about to say. So I'll just say that I have been thinking this, though, even before the year. Do you have to sign Micah? Do you want to sign Micah? There's something that happened yesterday that did kind of bum me out. First of all, the Lions throwing passes to offensive linemen because they could. And then B, just kind of the overall look of not give a shit happening on our sidelines. And whatever. Players' demeanors, body language are. Guys kind of laughing and stuff. I didn't love that. I wasn't very obvious. It was obvious on the TV copy, though. They didn't talk about it much. They didn't spend a lot of time on it. But that type of thing, I'm kind of like, did they kind of know they were going to get beat because all the guys were hurt and 3-3 get to the bye week, and that's the attitude of this thing? Because that's a problem.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, I mean, I would right now if, hypothetically, this was Micah's last year or he was about to enter his last year, so he had to get a contract done right now. I probably would do it just because it's so tough to find talented edge rushers.
Sure.
But if I'm Jerry Jones, I have the benefit of I don't have to get it done right now. So I'm going to let some cards play.
Yeah.
But I still think it's very, very, very likely that they do re-sign him. But if you have next season or the way this season ends, I get to see all that before I have to make more decisions there. He's not out for the season. He's going to come back. Let's see how they play down the stretch. Maybe they do fight and, win 2 or 3 games that we don't expect them to. Next thing you know, they got 9 wins and we're like, man, how did this happen? So I get the benefit of that. But I will say, even sitting here right now, I'm trying to get a deal done because it's so hard to find good pass rushers, and to me, it's one of the top 2 or 3 most valuable positions, and there's just not a lot of guys out there that can do what he does. So you do that, and you just hope that you are able to get the right coach that fits and can get the most out of Micah, and obviously the whole team.
Yeah, KT, I hear you. I mean, I don't think it's an asinine thought or anything, but I think where I would have been more on board with it if they didn't give Dak the contract before the season, and then you're like, you know what, we're gonna go into you're seeing how this plays out, and you're like, you know what, we're just gonna go into a full rebuild mode. So Herschel Walker this thing with Micah. Dak's gone after the season. Let's see if we can just, accumulate draft picks, maybe find our next quarterback by trading a lot of those picks or whatever. But I think once you lock in Dak, I think at this point, it's.
Well, let me stop you right there. If you're doing that, if that's your thought process, so that's Dak right now doesn't have a contract, then you must be right now thinking of shutting him down then, because you don't where
or
things are going right now.
Too.
Yeah,
or trading
because you don't want to
too.
win any more games. If that's your plan, then you
Right.
want to be as bad as possible.
But I would if Dak wasn't signed, and if Jerry, without him being signed, and the season was going this way, and was like, you know what, we're moving on, then I trade Dak and Micah and just double that, get all the draft ammo, and you go into that rebuild with all that. But all that's as Jerry said, he doesn't deal in hypotheticals. So that's all hypothetical. With Dak being under contract, I just don't go into that kind of mode. So I think I would re-sign Micah right now if he would put ink to paper.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's just something that's going to come up because salary cap talk is going to be a thing, and Jerry even mentioned it yesterday on the pregame show on Fox when he was in a good mood, when Rowdy brought him a birthday cake, and he's talking about part of the reason why I signed Dak and CD because I think we're close and all that stuff. I do think the difference in you being a playoff team and not a playoff team might be as simple as trading an asset, a draft pick, might not even have to be high, for a wide receiver that could help get the focus off of CD and just take the heat off of him a little bit, because this offense is not going to snap out of it all of a sudden because of the coach. Like, it's just not going to change anything. It's not.
Yeah.
And it would just really help to have another guy on the field. We all know it, but do you want to do that? Do you want to give up? You wouldn't be talking about giving up a first like you did 6 years ago, So
yeah, on the CD thing, just because I just wrote this story for tomorrow, so the research is fresh in my mind. Like, CD's top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards, which looks great on paper, but he's catching 58% of his targets, which is 67th in the league right now among all players, among all wide receivers. It's not even counting tight ends. Only wide receivers who have at least 20 targets, he is 67th in the league. Last year, among all receivers that had at least 100 targets, he was 3rd. He was catching almost 75% of his passes. That's a 20% drop-off. And so for, whether that's a get someone else in here to take attention off of him, and it's the double teams that are playing that effect, or if it's just him and Dak not being on the same page, the issue is all the targets are going to CD because there's nobody else in the passing game anyways, and they're not connecting. So whatever bottom line you see in terms of receiving yards, that's a fake number, because somebody's going to catch the ball. But it's how often you're doing it.
I really hope that Micah and Deron Bland are able to play against the 49ers, and it sounds like they probably will be. And Micah a little more questionable, but Deron Bland should be back. And I hope that we can see that game and then be able to call it a fair fight. You can say yesterday was a fair fight if you want. You just didn't do anything about it. But I am looking forward to it, and we'll chop that up with all of y'all next week. Make sure you keep following John and Saad. They're cranking out content over at The Athletic. Follow them on social media as well. Follow Kent and that Mad About Movies podcast. He might have a special guest this week to talk about the SNL movie. We'll see. Keep following us. We'll probably have an episode out later in the week, maybe the NFL weekend, because a couple of us are going to leave town and things like that. But we appreciate you following us as always. If there's anything emergency that we need to get to, we'll break in and cover that for you as well. Is there anything you would like to say before you take off to the bye week? We'll start with you, John.
No, I have nothing to say. I'm frustrated. I'm reevaluating my life and my professional life, and maybe I need to seek a different career because I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel. So I'm going to go to the bye. I'm going to try and regroup. I'm going to try and come back with a better attitude. And I'm just going to try and be better. But when I'm gone, just know I'll be working on the fundamentals.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Saad, I'm going to give you your closing remarks too, just real quick.
Yeah.
If Jerry looked you in the eye, John, and it's the Jeff Kolb question from Fox 4, and says, "Do you think I'm an idiot?" How would you have responded, do you think? Now, I know Jerry wouldn't do that to you. I don't think he would dress you down like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's so easy. There's no chance. Honestly, how could anybody think he's an idiot? I mean, just serious. Like,
yeah,
the wealth that he's made, the success he's had for the NFL, how great the NFL is. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't people smarter than him that have walked this earth that could, and maybe on their crazy level of intelligence, could call him an idiot. But generally speaking, and I'm as diehard of a sports fan as diehard sports fan can get, the people on that intelligence level don't even waste their time watching sports.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah.
They're not allowing their emotions to be ruined by injuries to players, ruining months of their life. I mean, I'm from Detroit. Most of my friends that are from the area are diehard Lions fans. You think they're very geeked today because the Lions beat the shit out of the Cowboys? No, they're gutted because Aiden Hutchinson's out for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, like really highly intelligent people are probably more involved with doing things that could possibly, contribute to greater things in the world than I could. So no, I certainly would not have told Jerry Jones that I think he's an idiot. And to be honest with you, you'd be an idiot to think he's an idiot.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, and by the way, a lot of people will be like, well, he's definitely a genius when it comes to ownership, but maybe as a GM, even as a GM, he's not an idiot. I don't agree with, I don't think he's great. I don't think relative to his contemporaries, he's a very good GM, but even then, like, I'm not gonna say he's like an idiotic GM who, has put together a team that won 36 games and the second most games in the NFL in the last 3 years and stuff like that. So I don't really think he's an idiot on any level. That doesn't mean I don't think he's at fault for so much of the bad that's going on, so much of the 3 decades and all that stuff. But a lot of this is all calculated. I mean, the more time you spend around Jerry, you understand that like he understands where the pros and cons are with his approach. And you like, I think what a lot of people think he's an idiot is because a lot of people think that he wants to win more than anything and he's not getting it done. That's not true though. Like he doesn't want to win more than anything. The stadiums are filled. He's the most profitable. He has the most profitable franchise in the world, and they do win, even though it's not a whole lot. He's like, I agree with John. Like, there's no way I think he's an idiot.
I'm saying, if you caught me on a bad day, that's such big talk. Anyone that says they would have responded to something else in a different way.
I mean, I also have the benefit of being around him while he's around fans.
Yeah.
And I can't even give you one example of somebody being unruly to him. Yeah. Not one. Of thousands and thousands of interactions, I can't even come up with one tough guy moment at all. Not one. I'm talking about even opposing fans.
Sure. Yeah.
Crazy ones that hate him. Eagles fans. And I've never seen anybody try and go toe to toe and like act like that they're going to be a tough guy in that moment.
Saad, anything that you'd like to say before the bye week?
Yeah, I'll be a little bit more on topic with football on this in terms of the bye week. But last year at the bye week, they had a lot of issues. They lost to the 49ers, then beat the Chargers, but the red zone was an issue like it is this year. CD's involvement was in question after that 49ers game in terms of how involved he is. But there were like more explanations last year. It was like, this is McCarthy's first year in McCarthy's offense. So maybe there's like a learning curve. Maybe there's this. Maybe it was Tony Pollard's first year as the feature back. Maybe this is the reason why this isn't working. This year for a lot of the issues, sure, on the defense, the injuries are an explanation. Absolutely. I concede that and I agree with that. Offensively, there's just not a whole lot of excuses, man. Like Brandon Cooks coming back is not going to solve your red zone problems. And so your running game is not changing. And by the way, last year when they came out of the bye week and they got on that roll, they came out of the bye week at home where they were invincible against the Rams. Then they played against the Eagles and lost. And then they played the Giants, the Panthers, and the Commanders. And Commanders without Jaden Daniels. So that was 3 very easy games and easy wins. This year coming out of the bye week, you got San Francisco, you're at Atlanta, you have Houston, you have Philly, you have a good Commanders team. It's a tall task what's in front of them after this bye week. Not to sound all doom and gloom, but I see in their next 5 games, I see 2 and 3 being like the upside. And anything like that's almost my expectation. So on that
Washington losing Jonathan Allen's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
That's gonna have a big impact on them. And also, the parity is so great this year. I mean, anybody that's in a survivor pool will see that. I mean, there's just so much randomness that you don't. I mean, heck, forget survivor pool. If you're just a Cowboys fan, like you did not even if you don't want to give credit to the Cowboys, there's no way going into that Steelers game that you're like, Oh, Steelers are just going to be the worst thing I've ever seen because they were the worst thing. Like you did not expect the Steelers to play that poorly at home on Sunday Night Football, and they did. So that's the one part where I just automatically can't sit here and go, "Oh yeah, we already know where this is going. They're only going to win
Sure.
5 games or something." I just can't say that because the league is just so all over the place. I will say, if you could only fix one thing that would help the entire rest of the season, it would be to somehow, some way establish a run game because it would have such a trickle down to the passing game, getting more opportunities and better opportunities. You'd be able to run play action off of it. And that would also help the defense because you'd be able to eat up clock. You also probably wouldn't put the ball out in position to get it taken away in the red zone, like has been an issue lately because you're keeping it on the ground more, less chance of turnover. If you could fix one thing, I think that would be the one. And that sucks because it looks like one of the ones that's almost pretty much unfixable just with what the pieces are right now.
It's amazing that Rico Dowdle only got 2 carries in the first half yesterday. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. Coming off the game he had, which was not a world breaking game or whatever, but like, that is strange.
McCarthy did concede today at the press conference that, Rico has to get more touches, and he pointed to the third downs, but you're right. I think in the first quarter it was one touch, and they always talk about attempts, but the game was not out of hand in the first quarter. So you could have kept running the ball. It was getting close, but it wasn't. Trust me, after the first quarter against the Ravens and the Saints, they were down 14-3. So I was following that score to see if it was going to be 14-3 again. I think it was 10-3 after the first quarter. So it wasn't out of hand, but it was getting there. But like, it wasn't bad enough to where you have to abandon the run and abandon Rico Dowdle, but they did.
Follow us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Also, like, subscribe. If you want to leave a little review, that'd be great. We love you and thank you for listening to us. We also have the Discord server up as well if you interact with us live in games. We'll get the 49ers game will be the next one in about 2 weeks. So I hope everyone has a good, safe bye week. Make sure you're checking out what John and Saad have to offer over there at The Athletic. You can follow me. I'm at KT Fun Tweets on Twitter as well if you want to talk Cowboys. I'd love to do that. I like doing that stuff. So for John, for Saad, for Kent, I'm Kevin, wishing you a happy bye week and a very successful second half of the season on the One Star Cowboys podcast. We'll see you next time.
Disciplined, grit, and fundamentally sound.